Hey, one more thing before you go. In a world where every click, every view, and every stream can start a cultural revolution, how does mass media wield its invisible power to mold our taste, our trends, and our truths? Stay tuned. We're going to answer these questions and so many more. I'm your host, Michael Hurst, and today we're going to peel back the curtain on a force that shapes our society in unseen ways. Welcome to One More Thing Before You Go. We'll explore how this ever evolving landscape influences what we wear, what we watch, and even what we believe. Joining me is Josh McBride. He's a lifestyle and pop culture expert who has navigated these waves firsthand. With his finger always on the pulse, he has contributed to some of the most iconic television programs as we all watch, like The Today Show, The Talk, Wendy Williams Show, Buzzfeed, Celebrity Page TV, and interviewed the brightest stars in the galaxy of fame with the likes that Josh has rubbed shoulders with, Hollywood's finest, interviewing luminaries like Kevin Hart, Sarah Jessica Parker, Adam Sandler, and Heidi Klum. Together, we'll unravel threads of mass media, intricate tapestries, and how it's crafted by tastemakers, transformed by technologies, and consumed by us, the audience. Welcome to the show, Josh.
That was the nicest and best intro I've ever had on any show. I'll be honest with you. You win that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yes,
That
Elvis
was a
used to say, thank you very much.
beautiful intro. Beautiful intro.
It's interesting. I love pop culture. We all love pop culture. We love everything about it. We love lifestyle. We love what we eat, what we drink, what we watch on TV, and we watch it. As you can probably tell from my gray streaks, I'm an old guy, so I watch it evolve. From the old days of Ed Sullivan. Now I'll say I watched some of the reruns, and maybe as a child some of the new ones. But we watch Ed Sullivan and these people that they'd bring icons on the Beatles and Elvis and these kind of things to influence and to kind of reach out to the masses. But that lifestyle, that landscape has changed, hasn't it?
No, my God, completely. I always think about Michael, appointment TV, right? And if you don't know what appointment TV is exactly how it sounds. It's knowing that TGIF is going to start at 8 p.m. on every Friday, and if you don't catch it, and if you're not in front of the TV, you're going to miss it, right? So
Mhm.
even there was a point which my brother and I always talk about. We're in between, like, thank God we had two bathrooms that were very close by to our living room because you had to hit both bathrooms, get a snack during the commercial break, because if you missed it, it's not happening. There wasn't a rewind. There wasn't a catch it on Netflix or Hulu later. It was
Yeah.
appointment TV. You had to be there for it. You didn't know if there was a rerun, but even if there was, you knew you may not catch that rerun again for a number of times. Now we have technology and TV at the click of our fingers, right? We
Yeah.
can go into the Netflix app and we can watch Friends season 2, episode 7. Right before, it was, I'm going to watch what's on, and there was something really lovely and exhilarating about having to be there, having to be your butt in the couch, right in that seat while you watch that show, whether it had been new or a rerun. And there's a part of me that really misses that.
Well, me too. I mean, as a child, TV was my babysitter. I mean, that sounds. Sorry, mom, but I had to look up there just to make sure I don't get zapped. It was my babysitter. I watched TV growing up, but at the time that I grew up in the early ages, we had three channels. You had ABC, NBC, CBS. That was it, and then I was the remote control. See,
Yeah.
and you'd have to play with the antennas. You can't see my hands. Play with the antennas till you got it just right, and that kind of a thing. So yes, going from that to watching something on my phone is like amazing to me. It's outstanding to me. But at the same time, I think we're encompassed by the digital age so much that we walk around with having to constantly consume, entertainment and laughter and shows and Instagram and TikTok and I mean, everything. We're their kids are getting hump necks.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
we're obsessed, right? We're obsessed with content, really. Before it was, it was go outside and don't come in till the street lamps are on. The street lamps are on, right? And so my brother and I, we'd be in the street. We'd be playing on a tire swing. We'd be running around the front yard. We'd be in the pool. and until it was dark enough, we'd come inside. Now it's like, oh, you get 2 hours or an hour on your iPad, right? You get an hour in front of the TV and then an hour for the iPad. Like, there's no, I think we're losing a sense, and I work in the field, but I think we're losing a sense of communication amongst each other, especially after COVID and a pandemic. There's so many people who are challenged by communication and building relationships because we're encapsulated with our phone, with our TV, with our iPads, with screen time. And it's a really like, I think there's a point at which you can say, all right, this is TV time. This is time where, I work in TV and I am home a lot of the day because a lot of the stuff is virtual now. I go into the studio a lot, but I still try to make that time to like get outside, take a breath of air, see friends, talk to people more than just FaceTime and text. We're so encompassed with the thing that we hold in our hand that sometimes other things get lost amongst it.
Well, yeah, it's amazing the adaptability that we have kind of, I would say, probably trained ourselves. We can't do without binge watching, for example. When you mentioned that earlier, when you were talking about, run to the bathroom, I remember those days. You'd have to run to the bathroom as quick as you could to get back to not miss anything.
Yeah.
Watching old movies or whatever the case may be. Now you can, a little bold, you could take take it into the bathroom with you.
Yeah.
Kind of a situation, It's not the old crossword now. It's your iPad or your phone or whatever the case may be. Historically, pop culture has been associated with like mass media. Anyway, how do you feel that let me back up. Can I back up a minute? Because I told you a little bit about my childhood. What got you interested in film and television? How did you start? I mean, you mentioned earlier you work in the field. We talked about it a little bit in your intro.
Yeah, I was obsessed with TV. I was obsessed with radio. I had we called it a boom box in our room, and I loved listening to morning talk shows on the way to school on the radio also. So actually, I started my career in radio, but I was the person that would like call in at the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock show on the radio and request a song and hope that I would make it on the show. I was also the person that was like come home and race home to watch Total Request Live on MTV at 3:30 every day, saying, I want to do what Carson Daly does. So for me, it was always that moment of like celebrity intertwined with like having a presence on air while also being their own brand. Carson Daly was a brand. I grew up in Boston. Kiss 108 was the brand. So for me, it was always wanting to be in that space, in that those people were my icons of the guy who did, his name was Maddie in the Morning, and that was Kiss 108's morning show. And I loved that. And I wound up begging them for an internship when I was 16, when all the other interns were in college at Emerson College in Boston. And I was this 16-year-old that was coming in at 4 a.m. over the summer, helping them write entertainment news, not knowing what to do or how to do anything, but really just wanting to be in the space. And that's sort of how I got bit by that pop culture bug.
Yeah, that's especially at 16 years old. Stepping into that environment must have been like an amazing opportunity for you.
Yeah, and starstruck at the point of like local celebrities of, I'm the one in the station, and everyone being so older, right? And there was a part where I was like, I'm dumb at this, I'm stupid, but all these people had all the other interns had classes, right? They had the communications class, they had and I'm there like, I'm in high school still, and I just want to be here. And I wasn't getting credit for it because I just wanted to be here. And I was doing it for free. By the way, like free internships are a thing of the past. And that internship, I was like, but when school started in September, I was like, I still want to work here. I still want to be in the radio space. And they put me on an afternoon show so I could take requests when people called in. And they said, Josh, I need you to write the entertainment news. That's the 4:45 hit or 5:45 hit. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing. And they said, go to this computer. And it was a raggedy computer. And they said, find the entertainment news, which you'd went to PerezHilton.com at the time, which, people might forget. And I get the entertainment news and the anchor on air, and I won't say his name, but like he read it word for word. And I'm like, sir, you're now listening to a 17-year-old's like word for word. I don't know if you should do that, but it sounded good. And so that's sort of how I got bit by that bug.
That's cool. That's very cool. That's again, what an amazing opportunity, especially at 16 years old. And I mean, you've become a well-known, iconic individual within this industry that people seek out to you, your thoughts, your opinions, your ideals with everything regard in pop culture and with the lifestyle and things we should buy, things we should get for our kids. And I was watching a lot of your clips and so forth, and seeing that and understanding that. I think that when I mentioned earlier when I started to talk about tastemakers or individuals or institutions that kind of help shape the way people, how we buy, how we look at things, you kind of delved into that arena.
Yeah. So during the same time as my I went to school for marketing communications because my mom was like, "You're not gonna not go to school and try to be an actor or whatever." So I went to school for marketing communications. So when I graduated, I kind of had two simultaneous careers. One was really trying to like grow as a host and a talent, and the other was like, I need to make money, so I'm going to stick with marketing because that's not what I do. That's what I do, and that's what I understand and how I can make money. Because you can't just say I want to be the next Ryan Seacrest and get on American Idol. It was you had to build your reel and your following and all this kind of stuff. So I had these two simultaneous careers at the same time. So I would go on. I always tell the story of when I moved to New York. I was working as trying to do hosting with fashion shows and events that happened under somebody else's YouTube name, but I was the host on the show, and it was free. It was totally free. But in the daytime, I was working for food and beverage brands, passing out their new products or going to events. Eventually, it wound up. I wound up getting a full-time job at Coca-Cola. It was at home because Coca-Cola is based in Atlanta and I'm in New York. And I would be doing these lifestyle segments in the morning, right, with my BlackBerry from Coca-Cola in one pocket at the studio, and then have my regular phone in the other pocket. And then I would go back to work. And then at night, I was working for another show doing red carpets. So I kind of always held these simultaneous careers of marketing, hosting, and I'm still really obsessed with the marketing world of new product launches and what's out there and what's a good product and what makes a good product. And so what I do right now is I feature those products, small businesses, major businesses on air, kind of combining those two passions of marketing and of hosting.
Well, and a lot of people, some people, I guess, would understand this, but coming from an entertainment background myself, we talk about that another time. But it's interesting when they don't think about this. When you watch a movie or watch a television program, what you see is product placement, and how to utilize it within the media so that it embeds in your brain, and you think about, oh well, Tom Cruise ate that or drank that or picked that up or used that or look at Tom Cruise's watch. I want Tom Cruise's F-16, but I don't think I will get that far.
Right.
But how do you think mass media, I guess, from that perspective, how do you think mass media has shaped pop culture today? How has it evolved from the old days of I don't know how old you are, but I Love Lucy. We watched Lucy, doing these stupid commercials and, making a big fun thing out of it. But how has it changed now? How has it affected?
Yeah, I think it is still very prevalent. I was actually watching a movie with Taraji P. Henson over the weekend. It was What Men Want, it was called. And it was like so aggressively placed of Stella beer and then a Ciroc bottle. And it was like, all right, this is very in your face aggressive. Now, do I think a lot of movies do that? I think they do it in some ways, but I think the shift from brands has gone really to paying the influencer, right? Because now there's a click through moment, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm Heineken, it's great to see it in a movie, but what if I pay an influencer a third, a fifth, a tenth of the cost that I paid for the movie? And there's a click through moment. Now I can get to the Heineken page, see all their brand new products, right? And then even a click to purchase page. Now I've just increased my margin because as opposed to seeing it, and I'm not saying don't do product placement, because as the consumer, we know that we have to see things 6, 7 times for us even to check it out. But if an influencer is doing it, now there's an immediate call to action. When I watch a movie or a TV show, there might not be a call to action, right? We just see it in the movie. But when it's on social media, there's a click through moment, which is actually really genius by the brand to say, oh, I can bring people directly to the page, see all the new product launches, and then click a link in the bio to directly go buy it or find out where to buy it. So I think marketing has shifted a little bit, but I still think that brands are still focusing or need to be able to focus on other outlets, right? It's great
Yeah.
that we saw it in the movie, but now we see it on the influencers page, right? And so now I've seen it twice and now I can click through to buy it. Now, twice may not be enough for you and may not be enough for me, but what if I see it on the billboard driving to work? What if I see it in that TV show? What if I see it on my favorite influencers page? What if I see it on a morning show featured by somebody like me who's talking about their latest product launch from Heineken? What if I am on the street and there's a window ad for it, right? Like all of these ways of shape shifting that marketing to get it ingrained in our brain to then go out and purchase it has really evolved over time with brands now understanding how much we use content and need the content, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the rise of influencer culture, I mean, ordinary citizens, can eventually ascend to extraordinary heights of influence in how they turn our lives into instant gratification, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you see something, you go and you click right there, like you just said. I mean, you explained it. It's pretty much instant gratification. We can see something more instantaneously than having to sit at the TV and then go to the store and get it or whatever the case may be.
And we know millennials and Gen Z are obsessed with that instant gratification because that's how young millennials and Gen Z were raised, right? They have Uber Eats on their phone, right? You can get a delivery, you can get a car to drive you somewhere immediately. When I was a kid and when you were a kid, it was what parent can drive us to our friend's house or what parent can pick us up, or older brother or older sister, right? Like now there's Uber for kids. I have a friend who has a 13-year-old,
No
and
kidding.
you could send an Uber for the kid, and I believe there's something where the parent can hear the entire conversation
Wow.
via the app on the phone. So like, there's so much instant gratification that patience is a virtue that is long gone.
Yeah, I've noticed that in anything. I'm noticing more and more of that. People don't have patience anymore. They want it. They want it right now.
Yeah.
And it's what you just said. I think that we have evolved into a situation. I grew up watching Star Trek, and I thought Star Trek was pretty cool because when you watch them there, think about this: the communicators. That's our cell phone in our hand now. They had communicators in their hand, and they had communicators on their lapel, and they would touch it and talk. We've got that with earbuds.
Yeah.
You touch it, you talk. Same thing with iPads. Star Trek I was watching where they carried around what looked like an iPad, which they hadn't been invented yet. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't wait to get an iPad. Couldn't wait to get an iPad, kind of a situation. But now I'm glued to the iPad, so it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all of us.
But yeah, to all of us, exactly. How do you think about what are your opinions on? I just mentioned earlier about binge watching, streaming, and so forth like that. Coming from your environment and what you see, do you think there's a value in binge watching? Do you think there's a value in being able to sit down and watch 10 episodes of something?
I don't know. I think from a brand perspective, it can go either way. One, the way is if you want a lot of press right at the same moment, right? If we think from a marketing perspective, thinking about if you launch a series on Hulu, let's say, and 10 episodes drop, and that's the season premiere and season finale in those 10 episodes. Now, there's an opportunity to gain a lot of press in that moment or over the next week or two, right? So I'm thinking as a publicist, as a marketing background, there's a lot of things that you could do in that week or two. Now, what if we had an episode drop this week, drop next week, drop the following week? Now there's a moment where people can really, although maybe annoying to the viewer because they want to catch it all at once, because we know how we just talked about instant gratification. There is a moment to then delay and continually have that sort of buildup of great press, great talking points, great marketing, great moments to have the cast on different shows across the country of, they're on the Sherry Show, they're on Jennifer Hudson, they're on Tamron Hall over the next 8 weeks because that's how long the show is going to air for. So I think there's a good and bad part about it. Look, I'm guilty of binging also. It's hard not to when the entire series is there. The other point is it talked about more if you kind of delay it, right? Like, what shows are you watching now? Well, a lot of people don't even say I'm watching anything right now because so many shows just come out at the same time. For instance, Baby Reindeer, I just watched. I believe, is it Netflix? I think it's on Netflix. I don't know where it's on. I shouldn't say where it is.
Yeah, I
But
think it's on Netflix.
was
My
it on
wife
Netflix?
even watched it.
Okay. And it was, they dropped all the episodes at once. It was great. I took a weekend and watched the whole thing, but I was done, right? I'm done. I'm not talking about it anymore. I talked about it with a couple friends a day later, 2 days later, 3 days later. It's done. However, I'm going to give you a different example. When Love is Blind dropped, or when Love is Blind drops, they drop 2 or 3 episodes at a time. So for many weeks, maybe even a month or two, people are talking about the evolution of these couples that are on Love is Blind, right? The finale doesn't drop till a week after the last things have dropped, or 2 weeks after. So they give them this moment of, or moments of more of a longevity, as opposed to like, hey, here's all the episodes, right? It's like a dinner, right? Do you want to go to a dinner and go to a buffet and eat all at once? Or do you want to have somebody serve you? And first you have the appetizer, then you have the entree, then you have a dessert. So it really just depends.
I think that from my perspective, I think, again, looking at generation change, watching it evolve from where it had come from. We used to have dinner at the table. That's where we had dinner. That's where you'd get your gossip. That's where everybody would talk about things. How was school? How was this? How was that? How was work? Those kind of things. It evolved now to where I think the majority of individuals, like you said earlier, you can pull up a TV tray, call Uber Eats or whatever the case may be, and get your meal delivered to you, and not take your eyes off the TV, not take your eyes off of what you just said. You can binge watch something where you don't have to leave your chair except to get up to pee. When you get up to pee, you pause it and you come back right where you left off. So it's. I think that the impact on society within itself, personally, and culture, I think that it has created what we said earlier: instant gratification, no patience, and I think it's also created an environment for, and I'm guilty of it. 100%, my wife and I are guilty of it. We are glued to the TV. That's our main form. I can have an 86-inch television. That'll tell you how much I love watching television and movies. So I think it's created an environment where we forgot to have conversations with people.
Yeah. And the conversation now becomes about what's on, right? And there's so much available where, people recommend to me different shows all the time. And I'm like, I've never even heard of that. It's in the depths of the Hulu app, of the Max app, there's so much content that we can get, right? You go to Instagram, you go to Twitter or X, there's just so much now. You go to TikTok that it's kind of hard to I always thought it was like I can't imagine being an influencer, because the amount of time that you need to put into, all this is really hard. I mean, I get it's a revenue stream, but you have to put a lot of time into those external apps and things like that. Like, you're sitting on your phone doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. My daughter is in the beginning influencer stages, and I know that she's frustrated with some of that progress as well. And just for those things that you just spoke about, I mean, you currently host a Simplified with Josh McBride, which is a brilliant opportunity for people to get little tidbits here and there about all kinds of things. It's available on Amazon, YouTube video, the Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and so forth. I know that you also help people who are wanting to get. I mean, who doesn't want to be on television? I became I'm a cop. I'm a retired cop, and but my second love, which it turned out to really be my first love, was TV and film. So every opportunity I had to be on TV for something, there I was. When they asked for a public service officer, I went, "Hey, I'm your guy," And it's one of those things where I have been through my health journey, because I got injured in line of duty, and then I've had 8 operations. I had to walk out of a wheelchair and walk my daughter down the aisle, and I mean, there's so many things that I was able to use to maybe inspire, motivate, and educate people with regard to my journey alone and my family's journey. I went on some talk shows. I went on, not national, they were all local, but it gave me an opportunity to get in front of somebody and kind of talk and to share my story. And who doesn't love the glitz and the glamour of the lights in the studio and what's going on in there? I know that how long have you been doing this, may I ask?
A little over 10 years.
10 years. And, how do you get booked on something like that? I mean,
yeah, well, that's why I came up with the course, getyourbrandonTV.com. because small business owners, young people, older people who want to have a voice or want to be able to continue building their brand awareness or business, or want to be an authority figure in their field, there is an opportunity to be on television now within, I would say, 2 weeks of crafting your idea and things like that. So with the course, getyourbrandonTV.com, we take you through exactly what an editorial pitch looks like. What that means is how pitching a producer so that you can get on their show for free. Now there's a high risk that you won't, there's a chance that you will. We also talk about sponsored content, sponsored segments, what that looks like, how to craft those, and the ability to be able to pay a small fee to be on a local show in your neck of the woods. Also with the course comes a downloadable 15 name contact list with emails of people in top markets that you can email saying, I want to be on your show next week. And I want to talk about my car wash service that's having a discount sale on Main Street in my town in 3 weeks from now. So there was a need for it. And the reason I came up with getyourbrandonTV.com was because I really wanted to be able to give people an opportunity to have them shine, right? I have all this knowledge from traveling and being on various, hundreds of local morning shows, national and regional here in the US. I wanted to give other people an opportunity to say, here's my knowledge of what I can bring and show you. Alongside the course, you're also getting producer feedback, real producers in the course with videos saying exactly what they're looking for and how it works. So it's really a one-stop shop to be able to say, look, I have this great bracelet brand and I want to be on TV tomorrow. I have this great cooking sauce that I want to start selling in my local town. I have this great, I'm a dentist and I want to bring people in for the teeth whitening service next week. Maybe I'm a law office, right? And I want to go on air and talk about what kind of law we do and how I can bring in more people. So that's why I really came up with this course.
And I think it's a unique opportunity for people, because sometimes you don't know how to get on. You don't know how to make that phone call. You don't know how to open that. And, realistically, I think we all have a story to tell. We've all got something to bring to somebody, or to whether it be a product or whether it be inspiration.
Yeah.
Or a motivation or story kind of a thing. So if somebody want to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you, please? And how do they find you and your course?
Yeah, if you go to getyourbrandonTV.com, you can find it there. I'm also on Instagram at JoshyMcB. You can ask questions there. You can also book one-on-one time with me via getyourbrandonTV.com if you really need some more hand-holding. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
And I'll make sure all those are in the show notes and everything, so everybody has an easy way of clicking right to it. His Instagram is right there on the screen when you can see it. Josh, listen, we could talk for another hour, but I know that we both have some other obligations that we have to attend to. But I would love to have you back on another time, because there's some.
I would love to.
I think we can move forward. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom, your unique perspective, and an opportunity for us to be able to move our lives forward.
Thank you.
This is one more thing before you go. So one more thing before you go, you have any words of wisdom you'd like to share?
I think you should do ASMR. I think you should do, how people touch the microphone. You have a very calming voice, and maybe that's an opportunity for you to try out.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's my one more thing before you go.
That's your one more thing before you go. Josh, thank you again very much. I really appreciate your time, your patience. I'll have everything in the show notes for everybody just to click and follow. And one more thing before you all go, have a great day, have a great week, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to this episode of One More Thing Before You Go. Check out our website at beforeyougopodcast.com. You can find us, as well as subscribe to the program and rate us on your favorite podcast listening platform.